What about business? Companies, corporations, they ask constantly, how can NLP help us to all our business?
Well, what makes a business more profitable is efficiency. Waste of time, because time is the currency of everything, not just in business, but in life. How do you spend the moments of your life? And for those of us who employ people, how do the people that work for us spend their moments? Do they spend their moments hesitating, dueling around, futzing, or are they highly self-motivated? Being able to get people to become more motivated, get people to make better decisions more often, depending upon what it is, there are skills. I was hired by a company that made paper one time. They didn't actually make the paper, they made it into envelopes and letterhead and stuff like that, but huge. And they would bring in giant rolls of paper and cut it into millions of little pieces. And this machine that they had to run, there was one guy that ended up with 99% perfect stuff. And most of the other people there were batting something like 19%, and the rest was thrown away. That's inefficient. When I went in and elicited from him his mental strategy, it turned out when he turned on the machine, the most he was doing was listening to these little nuances of sound. And when there was a certain sound, he knew it was time to push this button and it cut the paper perfectly. And when we trained the other people at the company to do that, they went from throwing away 80% of their product to being able to get up in the 70, 80, 90%, wow, just because they started listening the way other people were. When you start talking about salespeople, most companies have sales forces. Most people have a certain close ratio. Now, either whatever their close ratio is, if it's 40% or 10%, depending upon what the product is and how they're finding leads, right? Whatever it is, the only way they can increase and make more money for you is to work more hours. Right? Now, if you could get somebody with a 20% close ratio to go up to 40%, they could work half as much and make the same amount of money. But if you can get it to go to 60%, they could work half the time and you make twice as much money. Now, if you think about this with managers, because all of what we do in business has to do with the chain of commands and communication and people delegating responsibility and a feedback loops to know that things are going well. When I started out, I worked at a lot of companies on training programs, everything from the manufacture of floppy disks, and in those days floppy disks were this big. Now they're little tiny miniature things. But the efficiency up the assembly lines and training, how they trained people so that they didn't lose a lot of employees. There was one restaurant company that had over a 50% turnover every year at the management level, not at the employee level, at the management level. And they asked me, they said, why do you think it's like that? And I said, I know the answer to that. I said, you could get a psychologist and they'll give you a year-long answer, or I'll give you the simple answer. You're doing something wrong. And now what we have to do is find out about the companies that aren't losing 50%. You have competitors that are keeping companies. I'm going to go over and talk to them, find out how to keep more employees longer. And then we're going to change your training program so that we change people, so that people end up not only having greater skill, but more of a sense of loyalty and these kinds of things. And for any company that's, the bottom line is the answer. Now, in these tough pandemic times, we've all had to pivot in some way. And we're going to pivot, and as the world opens up, we're going to keep the pivot and expand back. So in a way, it's been a big training program for us. If we can do business under the worst of conditions, as conditions opened up, our profit margins should increase. And good decisions are what it's all about. And in NLP, the three major things are motivation, decision, and the acquisition of information, learning.